Next, there is no alternative to a two-state solution between Israelis and Palestinians. That's according to the French foreign minister as he opened a UN conference on Gaza, which has been boycotted by both Israel and the US. The meeting comes days after the French president announced that Paris would recognise a Palestinian state in September at the annual gathering of world leaders at the United Nations General Assembly. This week's conference in New York is being co-hosted by France.
We wanted to hold the conference as soon as possible because time is not on our side. The situation in Gaza is horrendous. The plight of the hostages still held by Hamas. The pictures we see every day of hungry civilians under bombardment, of women and children trapped by this war, overwhelms us all as a flagrant attack on our humanity and on the principles of international law.
With more on the crisis in Gaza, we're joined now by former hostage negotiator and columnist Gershon Baskin. He's founder and co-director of the Alliance for Two States. Gershon, thanks so much for being with us on the programme this evening. We do appreciate your time. We're speaking to you as delegates are in New York for this conference. We're talking about promoting the notion of a two-state solution for Gaza, coming, of course, just days after France said it would recognise the State of Palestine. Are we any closer, in your view, to such a state?
Well, as the French foreign minister said, there is no alternative to the two-state solution to end the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This horrific war that we've seen in Gaza over the last 22 months really has to be the last Israeli-Palestinian war. Now, both the Israeli and Palestinian people are far away from recognizing that there is a possible solution because we've grown so used to the idea that the people on the other side of this conflict are our enemy and they don't want to live in peace. But the recognition of the State of Palestine by France, perhaps by the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, other countries joining in is a step in the right direction because these countries have spoken about a two-state solution for years, but they've only recognized one of those states. It's important that the people of Israel hear the message that the world wants this conflict to end. The world recognizes the State of Israel, and now it's time to recognize the State of Palestine.
And as you say, international pressure mounting on Israel. Why is the EU unable to act? Just in the past few minutes, the German Chancellor, he's been holding a meeting of a security cabinet saying that, there's been no decision made to take any measures at all against Israel.
What I understand is that the issue of sanctions, the issue of recognition are EU decisions and not the individual states in the European Union. France, I guess the issue of recognition does come to individual sovereignty issues, but issues of sanction and trade policies are EU general policies. And I think that the sanctions or the idea of sanctions are being brought up now, at least limited sanctions, perhaps against Israeli settlers that the European Union believes are illegal settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories. Just as an example, all Israelis enjoy visa-free entry into the European Union. But people living in the occupied territories, the 700,000 Israeli settlers, are not living in the State of Israel. Why should they enjoy visa-free entry into the European Union? It's easy enough for the European Union to determine that people entering the EU need to fill out a form on the internet, just as people entering Israel need to do, or the United States. And should they indicate that their address is in the occupied Palestinian territories, they would not enjoy visa-free entry into Europe. These are the kind of steps that can be done. It's not punishing all of Israel. It is sanctioning Israeli policies that are against international law.
And how significant do you think it is today, Gershon, that two leading human rights organisations in Israel, they're accusing it now of committing genocide?
Right, we're hearing this more and more. I think it's important to emphasize that what Israel is doing in Gaza is not the Holocaust. The Holocaust was a specific act by the Nazi regime against the Jewish people during World War II. But after World War II, the international community got together and drafted the Convention for the Prevention of Genocide. Many Jewish people were involved in the drafting of that convention. If you read the convention, understand what it says, what Israel is doing fits into the definition of genocide according to the International Convention. And this is very important because the world has a responsibility to prevent it. And action needs to be taken to prevent genocide, not just by providing food to the people of Gaza, but by ensuring that this war comes to an end.
And do you think that we're seeing perhaps a change in tone from Donald Trump? He has been today talking about starvation of people, of children in Gaza, something that the Israeli Prime Minister continually denies. So is that a sign that the position might be changing?
Perhaps it is. I think that the 180-degree reverse of Israeli policy and now letting international aid into Gaza, letting some of the international organizations, the United Nations, the World Central Kitchen, and others distribute aid is a change in direction, and it has to be as a result of an order from Donald Trump to Benjamin Netanyahu. We've also heard from Trump that Israel needs to make hard decisions and it needs to do something different to get the hostages back. Now, we don't know if Trump is saying to Israel that they need to step up the warfare and launch even more attacks against the 25% of Gaza, which they don't occupy yet, with 2 million people living there? Or is Donald Trump going to tell Benjamin Netanyahu that the time to end the war is now, that they should make a deal with Hamas? What the basic problem that we're facing is that no one has dealt with the issue of who's going to govern Gaza after this war. Certainly Hamas cannot. The Palestinian people don't want Hamas there anymore. But Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian president, hasn't done anything to make sure that there is an alternative Palestinian government in Gaza. That's what we need to focus on as well.
Gershon, we'll have to leave it there. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We do really appreciate you taking the time, though, to speak with us. That is former hostage negotiator, columnist and co-director of the Alliance for Two States, Gershon Baskin. Thank you.